You are listening to the Postcast presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and, of course, the Glebe Central Pub. Check out our pub in the heart of the Glebe, 779 Bank Street. Take the Sens shuttle, 2 games. Sue, the bus driver, will get you there quick. Enjoy a Sens W. They seem to be doing a lot of that these days. Take the bus back and enjoy good times with Sens fans at the Glebe Central Pub. I'm your host, Brandon Piller, joined by my good friend, Jack Richardson, after a 4-2 win over the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Battle of Ontario. The Ottawa Senators win the war as they get the season sweep on the Leafs. That's now the 5th straight time the Sens have beaten the Leafs in Toronto, and we are having a vibecast. Sens fans are loving it. A 4-2 win. Jack, look at us getting to cover a big win up against a rival team, eh, buddy?
The Battle of Ontario runs through Ottawa, Pilsy. What a performance. Once again, this team just delivers in these rivalry games against the Leafs. 3-0 this season and closing the gap once again, only 4 points back of the Lightning and the Leafs. They're starting to put themselves back in that top echelon of the Atlantic Division down the stretch. Really exciting. What a gutsy road game by the Ottawa Senators tonight, Pilsy. And look at us now. Who would have thought? The two of us breaking this game down after the painful ones. We posted our record the other day. All time, and it's not pretty, but this is chipping away at it. What a game by the Ottawa Senators.
Yep, the Sens are now on a six-game winning streak. I know November's hard. I know February's tough, but March is our month. The only loss is a shootout loss to the best team in the East. This team is absolutely rolling. And Jack, this game didn't start off hot for the Ottawa Senators as they let in the first goal of the game. Now, the Senators, they've been doing a lot better when they're the ones that score first. When the Leafs got that first goal, did that spark a little fear into you, or did it feel like the Sens still had momentum?
I'll be honest, a little bit, just because of the thing you mentioned. We know how much better the Sens are when they do score first. But what made me so excited was how quick the response was. Jake Sanderson snipes one as the Leafs goal, as Nylander's goal is being announced. So the best way, like the most important shift is the one right after a goal, no matter what, if you scored or the other team scored. And the fact that they just get that done, it's a dominant play by the top line. Stützle and Tkachuk get the assists on Jake Sanderson's goal. So I wasn't worried for too long, Pilsy, but I won't lie. Like in that small moment of time, I was a little bit, especially because the Leafs were starting to generate some momentum. The building started to wake up a little bit. And I mean a little bit. But I don't know about you. Like, did you ever feel at any point after Nylander's goal, were you nervous?
Not really. Like it seemed like the Sens were playing the Leafs an effective way to shut down this team. And like you mentioned, sure, the Leafs score first, but it's a minute and 10 after the lottery line, as Ross likes to call it. They tie it up. But then this was a game of momentum swings, Jack, because then shortly after, 57 seconds after, it's the Leafs that come back and oh my God. I mean, we are a hashtag goalie friendly show. I got number 35's jersey hanging up behind me here. I love Linus Ullmark, but that Jack, he had save of the year last game. That's going to go on TSN highlight reels, but unfortunately, he's also got one now that's going to go on TSN blooper reels as the puck is dumped in. It's got a bit of spin to it. Ullmark comes out to play it, and it bounces off his stick. And at that moment, it's a goalie's worst nightmare. He's reeling to try to bring that puck in. He even tries a little deke there out of desperation, but ultimately it goes to Austin Matthews. And he's been in a slump lately, but even that is one Austin Matthews is not going to miss, Jack. And that puts it 2-1. How, like, what were your emotions there after that one?
I'm not going to lie. Immediately, I was worried about Ullmark. I thought he took a bit of a blow to his knee. And maybe, I mean, we'll hope he's okay. He looked all right to finish the game. But it might have been a little bit from him of like maybe milking it a little bit. So he doesn't look as guilty. You know, if you get hurt on a play, you don't look as guilty. I know that as a player, if you make a giveaway, but you kind of act like you got banged up on it, you make it. I'm not suggesting Ullmark did that. I do think he's okay, but that was a bad mistake. And like, then it did take a while for the Sens to get their response. So Pilsy, then I was nervous. I'm not going to lie. Like that's when you get the two guys who needed to wake up for the Leafs and Matthews and Nylander, you give a gift to Matthews like that after doing such a good job of shutting him down. I was nervous after that. I thought, oh boy, here we go. But credit to the Sens, Pilsy. They just found a way to keep chipping away. And it's the francophone, David Perron. He's hot right now, man. He's back. And I think he's been a really nice addition to that second line.
Yeah, and he's been really hot lately, especially with Batherson and Cousins. And our guy, the Leams Martian, he didn't like it when I told everyone in the group that he said in the group chat he didn't like the goaltending play. So I told him I do it both ways. After that, Jack, Martian said Ullmark's not going to let another one in all night. He's going to shut the door. And he was right. So sometimes that's a little blessing in disguise to have a really bad goal because then you're like, you shake it off, and that really tests the goalie's mentality. Speaking from experience, House League All-Star goalie here, Beer League All-Star goalie. When you let in a bad goal, that's when you find out what kind of goalie you are, because goalie is 90% mental and 30% physical. Math guy here. So you really got to make sure that if you do mess up like that, you can find a way to calm yourself down and say, all right, that's on me. I'm going to do whatever it takes now to make sure the boys can stay in a position where they can win this game. And Ullmark had some massive, massive highlight reel saves throughout the rest of that game.
He was excellent in the third period. He really was. And we've been saying it, Pilsy, like Linus Ullmark is at his best when the Sens have the lead. And he's getting to a point now where if you give Linus Ullmark 3 goals of support, he's not letting in another one. And as soon as the Sens took the lead tonight on Giroux's goal, Linus Ullmark didn't let in another goal, right? Like he lets in that gaff other than the first one where Nylander just walks in and makes a nice play. Ullmark was fantastic again tonight. He didn't have his Detroit performance, but he didn't need it. If he's playing like that, Pilsy, and the Sens score at like they are at 5-on-5, the Sens are going to win 6 in a row. Oh wait, they already have. That's what's been happening. Ullmark is making the critical saves at critical times, and the Sens are scoring timely goals. And it's so fun to see this happen right when they took a big axe to the roster and switched everything up. I can't believe they just rode the wave. They've won 4 straight since the deadline. They're hot right now, Pilsy. It's or 5. Is it 5 straight since the deadline? I'm losing track, Pilsy. Not a math guy here, but
yeah, things are good when we can't keep track of all the wins, Jack. Just checking right now after the deadline, the OT win against New York, Detroit, Philly, Boston, Toronto. So that's 5 straight wins.
Unbelievable. They're just finding ways to score goals, Pills, and it's so fun because the depth is on fire right now. I thought Ridley Gregg got Giroux's goal on the power play, but that line again was a story for me. That third line was excellent again. Pinto, Greg, and Amadio are just a handful down low. And defensively, they were out there for the last 3 minutes, Pilsy.
Yep, that's the line that Travis Green trusts the most. Like, that is his matchup shutdown line. Yeah, especially like you mentioned, when it's down to the end there and the Leafs are pressing, trying to get that empty netter. And I don't know, like, I would say the Sens had better chances at scoring a goal when the Leafs pulled the goalie than the Leafs did. Like, there was a couple scrambly moments where there was chaos in front, but like, for the most part, the Sens were able to keep things wide and force the Leafs to try to make an extra pass to really set it up. And the Sens were able to clear it a bunch of times. And excuse me, I really wish that Ridley Gregg, in one of the 6 times he had an opportunity to shoot in the empty net, he should have just wound up for a clapper. I know Leafs fans wouldn't have liked that. Morgan Riley would have lost his marbles, but he had at least 2, if not 3 chances at an empty net, and he actually ends up scoring one, but it goes offside. Or did he actually score that?
I think
or was
he did,
he
yeah.
Just the one that was offside? Either way,
if he didn't, it was Dylan Cousins, but I think he did. Yeah, it hit off the defenseman and in. But yeah, Ridley Gregg with the fight too. We didn't even mention the fight with Scott Laughton. Like that he answers the bell. I imagine that was Gregg going after Laughton about running into Ullmark. I don't know. I'd like to think that, but Ridley Gregg's so effective again. I think if he knew he was clear on that offside one, I think he would have taken a clapper. But because he was offside, it kind of messed up his balance. But I guess we'll never know. But yeah, he had 3 attempts at an empty net and he didn't get one of them, but finally gets the assist on Amadio. It was like, we were talking beforehand. I was nervous because I thought this was going to be the reverse of the empty net clap shot last year. Buddy. And thankfully that's not the case because the Sens just keep winning. That might have been the first win in this win streak overall against the Leafs, I believe, Pills. Was that the first of 5? I think it was towards the end of last season. We might have to get the LOSP stats department on that one. But regardless, the Sens have dominated this rivalry. There's a lot of talk all the time about how the Sens need to get better to make this rivalry a thing, to make the Battle of Ontario a thing. Leafs need to kind of wake up here now because the Sens have absolutely dominated it, Pilsy. How good does this feel? The Sens are surging in a playoff spot. They just swept the season series against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they're looking good at the right time. It's awesome.
It feels so good, Jack. I mean, right now, looking at the standings, the Ottawa Senators still first in the wild card race with 77 points. Now, the New York Rangers switch things up as they beat the Columbus Blue Jackets, so they now are in the wild card spot number 2 with 72 points. And the Habs, you say what you want about them, but they're finding ways to win here too. They get the win up against Florida. They now have 71, just 1 point back of the Rangers. But Jack, I know we shouldn't be doing this, but I'm scrolling up when I'm looking at the standings here. The Sens are now just 4 points back of the Lightning and the Leafs. That game and the Lightning winning bumps the Leafs down to 3rd place in the Atlantic Division. So, I mean, the Sens are making a much bigger gap away from other wildcard teams and are closing the gap up top on the Atlantic Division teams.
Listen, this is going to be a bit of a difficult stretch, and it's probably the last hard one they have. I think coming into tonight, it was 5 of their next 6 are on the road.
Yep.
They're short trips, Eastern Conference, but still, like, they've been rocking at the CTC. But remember what they did at the road trip over Christmas, Pilsy? They rode a winning streak into that and chipped away, and then by the end of it, their record looked better overall. But if they can do that a little bit here, just steal a couple more on the road, a big one on Tuesday against Montreal, that is going to be another playoff atmosphere. So it doesn't get easier here. But the fact that they've just put themselves in this position, they can afford to lose a few. They can, which is exciting because, look, Brady Tkachuk is playing hurt. We know that. Like, he wasn't himself again tonight for the most part.
And he took one off the chin too, Jack.
He did. He's banged up. And the reason I'm pointing this out is because they're winning games. They're getting points where they might not need to be in a dogfight until game 82. And that's exciting. So the longer they can keep this going, the more, time they buy themselves to get healthy so they can actually have a good playoff run. Because the last thing you want, Pilsy, is for them to just kind of leave it all out there. And look at us getting ahead of ourselves already to playoffs, but they're playing like one. This was such a statement win, Pilsy. This was a big, big game on primetime Hockey Night in Canada against the Leafs. You can't ask for a better stage in the regular season.
Oh, no, you really can't, Jack. I'm fired up about this game, and all 762 people are fired up about this game. And if you want to be fired up about this game with more Ottawa Senators fans, why not go to the Glebe Central Pub? We just saw a comment from our guy, Nick Spence. We were at the GCP tonight and the vibes were electric. People cheering, go Sens, go on the patio. Oh my God. The city wakes up when the Ottawa Senators are doing well. And I am so excited that everyone's going to get to experience that at 779 Bank Street, our pub. Go to the website, get yourself on the Sens shuttle. I know we talked about a couple road games coming up here, but April, it's going to be a lot of hockey in the nation's capital, and they're going to be huge games. You don't want to miss out on those, so don't. You can get a round trip. The bus takes you from the pub to the game, from the game back to the pub, $17 round trip. You can't get to and from the CTC faster. I am convinced it's the best way to do it. And the GCP, it's not just about Sens hockey. They got great food, great drinks, and I love the service there. The servers, the bartenders, and our guy Blair, the owner, they're all absolute beauties. So if you want to have a blast at the GCP, head there today. And in this economy, the vibes at the GCP are so reasonably priced. Jack, do we have an update on what the vibes price is at the GCP?
Just in the chat. Yeah, we're checking here. I think they're free, Pillsy. People in the chat are saying the vibes are free at the GCP.
Jack Richardson reporting from Brockville saying that the vibes are free at the GCP. We love it. So go check out our friends over at the Glebe Central Pub. This episode is also brought to you by our friends over at Trade Coffee. You guys know that to keep this podcast going, we're always drinking coffee, and we want to be drinking good coffee, so we drink it from Trade. You got to start your morning off with a great cup of coffee. Trade is the number one specialty coffee marketplace in the U.S., bringing you fresh coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Their experts taste tested thousands of coffees, curating over 450 amazing roasts, so they will handpick the perfect match for you. Check out their website. You can take a quiz, and in under a minute, they're going to match up the best roast to fit your needs. And if you don't love your first bag, no worries. Trade will replace it for free until they get it just right. Right now, Trade is exclusively offering our listeners 40% off your first order at drinktrade.com/lockedonnhl. That's drinktrade.com/lockedonnhl for 40% off your first order. drinktrade.com/lockedonnhl. Woo! Let's go, Sens fans. Another win over the Toronto Maple Leafs in their own barn. It feels so good right now. We're vibing. This is an ultimate Vibecast here. Everybody, 777 people. That's a nice number for Brady Kachuk. 777 in the chat here. Jack, we used to pray for times like these. Give me a vibe update, buddy. How you doing?
Dude, this is crazy. Like, this is just, I was just thinking while we were doing the GCP ad read for the vibes are free. This is the best vibes since 2017. These are the best vibes since 2017 to me. Like, the team just, you can see a direction now. Like, they're playing these games that matter and doing well convincingly, not like just riding hot goaltending, even though they did for one of those games, but they're winning in so many different ways. Pillsy, I'm so confident in this team right now. It's just, it's everything we could have thought of, I think, right? For the most part, they got healthy and they're really finding their stride right now. It's hard to explain the feeling of being a Sens fan right now. You can't do anything wrong.
Yeah, it's awesome. And we're going to hear from a Sens fan. Our girl, Margaret O'Toole, had boots on the ground. We're just waiting for her to get home off the subway. Then we're going to send her the link and she's going to hop on and she's going to tell us all about her experience at the Scotiabank Library. So let's get into this game even more, Jack. Let's get to the third period and let's talk about how the Ottawa Senators played a disciplined game in this one. No penalties until, oh man, Artem Zub flips the puck out of play into the crowd at what time is that? There's like 3 minutes left at that point.
5 minutes.
5 minutes? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's winded down. The Sens are up 3-2. Look, say what you want, but the Leafs do have lethal weapons on the power play. I think, Jack, for me, that's probably the moment I was most nervous this game, because if there was an opportunity for the Leafs to figure it out and they get a power play put on an absolute platter for them, it was right there.
I'm not going to lie, I wasn't that nervous, Pillsy,
because
the Sens penalty kill is now 9 of their last 9 all of a sudden. They were a problem, circled as a problem a few weeks ago. They've been a big reason for this kind of turnaround. Like think back to the Detroit game, which I keep going back to because that's when this winning streak turned for me, when they were able to just kind of gut one out, not play their best and still win. I think having that kind of performance on the penalty kill in one power play, like you only get one shot at it. So I don't know if it benefits the penalty kill or the power play more. If it's one in the third period, I'd imagine it benefits the penalty kill a little bit. But it was still impressive because the Sens converted on theirs. I think the power plays were 1-1 and the Sens convert. The second unit getting it done, and Claude Giroux. Imagine having Claude Giroux on your second unit. What a world we're living in. He had a great game tonight, Claude Giroux did, but we'll get to that maybe a bit later when we talk to Margaret. But that was just an unreal performance by the penalty kill. So it was after that though, Pilsy, that I got a little bit nervous. Those extended shifts, like we talked about, the empty netters. That's when I was worried. But credit to Linus Ullmark too on that penalty kill, because your best PKer is your goaltender. I've said that before on the show. It's a goalie friendly show. So you gotta steal the show on the penalty kill if you're a goalie. And he did just that. He was solid down low, didn't give up any second chances. Just what you want from your star goalie.
Big time. And honestly, similar to when the Leafs had the man advantage with the goalie pulled, the best chance on that power play, in my opinion, was by the Ottawa Senators. Claude Giroux had a clear and away breakaway. The Leafs, I forget which player it was, kind of caught up to him and put some pressure on him, so he wasn't able to kind of get a good move off. And Stolar stood tall. I mean, he's a massive goalie, so he's able to take up space like that. But I thought that was the best opportunity of that man advantage. So Claude Giroux, awesome opportunity on the penalty kill, and then he scores on the power play. Like, this guy has been so nails for the Ottawa Senators. I know maybe some fans are kind of keying on how he's slowed down, how he's not the emphatic goal scorer he was in his first season in Ottawa, but he's quietly and consistently still getting it done, in my opinion.
I believe Ross tweeted out the stat tonight, Pilsy, right after his goal. He now, in 6 games against the Leafs as a member of the Ottawa Senators, since signing here, has 10 plus points, or 10 points, I believe it is the number. So like, just incredible from Claude Giroux that he's got those kind of numbers against the Leafs in games that matter for the Sens. Like that's what's so exciting about all that. And he loves those big moments. And I think I said it a couple shows ago, Pilsy, not to pat myself on the back here, but it's a vibecast. We can do that. Yeah. Especially the two of us. We've had a lot of losses to break down over the years.
You go for it, Jack.
So with Claude Giroux, it's like if he can do this more often down the stretch, and he has been, I'd say, the last little week or so, he's going to be so valuable for the Ottawa Senators because he's played in these games. He's played in down the stretch games in his career. That's when he shined. I think that's when he got his coming out party, was the 2010 playoffs way back. So he's kind of turning back the clock a little bit.
16 years ago. Holy
time, but he's got it in him, Pills. He's got it in him, which is the most exciting part. So I'm just, it's a backpack. That's a good
Nothing
comment.
wrong with that.
I just think that's another guy, and Devi Perron is the same way. Like they're both kind of veterans who have seen this type of hockey down the stretch, and they keep scoring like goals 2 and 3 tonight. That's a big game from them.
And then let's even go to goal 4, Jack. Michael Amadio. Now, that's another guy that I think Sens fans had been frustrated with, myself included. I kind of got on him being like, what is his top attribute? What is he good at? But he's just a solid all-around player that you can trust defensively. But Michael Amadio's got hot offensively as well. Like, he scored a bunch of goals recently. He's a guy Travis Green really trusts to put over the boards in key situations up against other teams' top lines. And I've been really impressed with the whole, pretty much every single player that Steve Staios has brought into this team has worked. I mean, even like Fabian Zetterlund maybe hasn't found his spot yet, but I wouldn't say he's been a detriment to this team. But you look at Linus Ullmark, we already talked about how great he was after that mishap. David Perron, we talked about Michael Amadio, Dylan Cousins, first game as an Ottawa Senator without a point, but they've won 5 straight with them, so I'm okay with that. And then, I get, Nick Jensen didn't play in tonight's game, but he's been good all year, in my opinion. So you're really starting to see the Steve Staios plan and how things are shaping up. And I think it's giving Sens fans a lot of relief to see that this is a very different vibe than it has been in years past.
And I think another person who deserves a ton of credit for that, Pilsy, and maybe we could just touch on this a little bit before we get to Margaret, is Travis Green, who's, again, something that Staios should get credit for. I think a lot of people maybe, that was a while ago, but that was that's when the offseason started. He hired Travis Green. And this guy has been really, really good. I think like we're kind of skipping over that. I think Jack Martin gets a lot of love for, getting the defense in these guys. I mean, I even gave Daniel Alfredson more love a couple shows ago too. But Travis Green has been tremendous. Like 2 6-game win streaks, and especially one at this time of year, it is impressive. Like I don't know why he's not talked about more in Jack Adams conversations, because he's been
unfortunately
great.
Spencer Carberry has that
Probably.
locked down, but
is it just,
I get your point.
Is that just going to be the award that goes to the first place team again, like the President's Trophy team, which is fair but I think it's a consecutive streak. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. But for a guy who was not seen as the big fish last summer as a coaching hire, when Craig Berube is now 3-0 against Craig Berube this year. And I believe going back to his days in Vancouver, also beat Craig Berube in a playoff series after he had they won the cup in St. Louis. I think Vancouver bounced them the next season in the bubble. So Travis Green's got Craig Berube's number, and I'll take that as an Ottawa Senators fan, because that's the kind of matchup you want to have in your favor.
Jack, his own team didn't even hire him. Travis Green was an interim head coach for the New Jersey Devils at the end of last year, and I'm not sure what happened there, but they decided they weren't going to keep him around, and the Ottawa Senators hired him. So definitely kind of a chip on his shoulder underdog story for Travis Green here.
I think just when Steos took last year to really just look at the group and assess what they needed and all of that, he took a lot of heat, right? Because the season was just basically getting thrown away in the meantime. And it was frustrating. It was the 6th year or 7th season at the time, I guess. But it's paying off right now because all those moves, Perron, Amadio, Green, Ullmark, like everyone is contributing at the right time, and every move he's made has really benefited this team. It's just they deserve their flowers down the stretch here too, because the players deserve most of the credit, but we aren't here without those moves they made.
Absolutely. And the Sens aren't on a 6-game winning streak without it. We've got Margaret O'Toole here for the Boots on the Ground report. We're going to get right to her after a quick word from our friends over at FanDuel. Guys, you know FanDuel is the official online sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets at the end. I love looking at the underdogs. I love plus money bets, and FanDuel makes it easy to get them with spreads, totals, and game props. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on. It's March Madness. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get those green numbers. Those trophies hit my account real quick, and they often do profit boosts for same-game parlays and live betting on the NHL, so check that out for all you hockey fans. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. This episode is also brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank account and wondered, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track these days. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one easy place. So stop just managing your money and start building your wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all of that stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. All right, Sens fans, we're here. Locked On Senators podcast, Postcast. I'm Brandon Piller. I'm with Jack Richardson. A 4-2 win over the Toronto Maple Leafs. And what better way to cover this game than bringing in a boots on the ground report? Here we are with Margaret O'Toole. Oh boy, let's see if I can do this. Ross usually is the one that sets this up. Here we go. We're going to go vertical on this one. Try something a little different. Margaret.
Okay. Hello.
Good to see you. How are you feeling after that one? Oh my God.
Oh my God. Electric. It was unreal. I honestly cannot say enough how incredible it was to be there for the win. Guys, that's my first ever game in Toronto in Scotiabank Arena. I've lived in Toronto for a decade. I've never been to a game before. And that was the one. That was the first one.
Wow.
And they won. It was huge.
It's a crazy feeling. I've been lucky enough to be at one win, but it was a throwaway season in February one year. It was still great being like one of the only few Sens fans. What was the presence like? It sounded pretty good, Margaret. It sounded like a good amount were in the building.
Honestly, as soon as I got there, it felt like I saw so many more Sens jerseys than I expected. It was really good. There were so many Sens fans. Personally, I was within high five distance of several Sens fans.
Nice.
Like a couple guys in front of us, me and my partner were there. There was a little kid behind us. It was great. And then throughout the arena, as soon as like the first Sens goal, it was loud. I'm not kidding. I was shook at how loud it was. It was so good. Walking through the concourse and everything, felt like I was always like nodding to someone, like doing a cheers, you know? It was sweet.
Hey, well, we know Sens fans can get loud when they're excited, unlike maybe some of the folks over at the Scotiabank Library. Give us the boots on the ground report. Did it seem as quiet as it did on TV? Especially Ross tweeted out during that fight, you wouldn't know that there was even an altercation. It might as well have been a commercial break where the people are just scraping snow off the ice.
Okay, my boots on the ground report, I'm not going to lie, it was louder than I expected. Okay. I've heard a lot of stuff over the years about the Scotiabank Library. Like I said, it's my first time. Yeah. It was louder than I expected. It's not the CTC, I don't think. No. But it was pretty good. I think I was in a good section. During the fight, like, I don't know. I'd say it was like decent. But it wasn't as quiet as I expected. I am not going to lie. I have to be honest on that.
Okay. Then on that note too, were people a little bit nicer than you expected? Or like, what was the relationship with the Leafs fans? Like, did you say a word to them? Did they say anything to you?
You know what? Overall, it was good. I would say, like, again, I was around a few Sens fans. It felt like it was nice to have like people you knew like around. Like, felt like you weren't alone. I think if there was fewer, it would feel worse. The Leafs fans, a couple of Leafs fans around me were like their person they were with was a Sens fan, so that was fun. It was like I'm not like the guy behind us was like, you guys have some good shit going on. Like they were like honestly like recognizing the good moments. There were also times where I was like, I fully see the Leafs fans that people talk about. Yep. And the vibe that we hear about. And I saw them further away. I wasn't personally around them, but I could see some not particularly good behavior a little further away.
Yeah, well, hey, it didn't go their way, so I could see why maybe things got a little rowdy. What for you was the biggest moment of the game?
Biggest moment of the game? I mean, I would say the Claude Giroux goal. Like, yeah? Okay. I was there in a Giroux jersey. Like, I was just fucking loving it. Like, it was so good. I think that was the moment for me.
All right. And, Jack, you got one?
Yeah, so we'll get into our Sens Central standouts here, too. Is Claude Giroux your pick? You can go someone else. We gave Claude Giroux some love just before we brought you in there, but there's a lot to pick from. We're probably going to go back and forth a couple times.
In terms of who's my personal pick from the game?
Yeah.
Yep. We're giving you first choice. Jack and I have not made a choice yet.
Yep. We're being generous, Pilsy.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I think I would go for Giroux, honestly. Like, he is one of my faves, of course. I think he had a huge goal at a critical time. I think there was also times where I noticed he just always has small plays that mean a lot. You know, like he gets a stick out where, you know, it chips the puck out at the right time. He has moments on the penalty kill or, you know, when it's like they've pulled the goalie and he almost has the clincher empty net goal and that kind of thing. I think he showed up tonight.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of Sens fans showed up, so Jack and I are going to be able to have our pick here. But final question for me, Margaret, is not only did you get to go to the game, your first one at Scotiabank Arena, but you got to have a cool experience this morning. Walk us through all the different things you got to do.
I did. So I was so fortunate. The Sens really set me up. Shout out Ian Mendez, of course. He is the
Our
best.
guy.
So he invited me to come check out the morning skate, and I got to the rink this morning. I got to see the Sens skate. It was like an optional, like pretty chill, shorter skate, obviously on a game day. And then I met up with some of the team, like the social media team on the Sens, and they took me behind the scenes and everything. I got to see Travis Green's media availability. I got to see the players' media scrum and everything. It was amazing. It was so cool. I felt very lucky to be there, and really cool to see the behind the scenes as a fan in enemy territory. It was so cool. It was awesome. It was like it was a bit surreal, but it was also like, damn, these are the guys that I know. Like, let's go. Big game tonight.
Yeah, that's awesome you got to do that. Ian Mendez is just the perfect guy for the job, setting everyone up to have these awesome experiences. We can't say enough good things about Ian Mendez, and we can't thank you enough, Margaret, for joining us for your boots on the ground report of the Battle of Ontario, where the Sens get the win, the season sweep, 6 straight wins for your Ottawa Senators. Thank you, Margaret, for joining us, and you go enjoy the rest of your night. The vibes are high.
Thanks so much, guys. So nice to come on.
All right, see ya. Oh, we missed a Go Sens Go from her. My bad. I was quick on the jump there. So I'll say it for her. Go Sens Go.
Go Sens Go. Everyone's saying it, Pillsy. We're all saying Go Sens Go. Everyone, like it. This is great. The fact that she got to experience that for the first time, and she's lived there for so long, is awesome, because Battle of Ontario is back and it's in the Sens' favor right now, Pillsy.
What a time to experience that, that's for sure. Okay, Jack. So Margaret had Claude Giroux as her Sens Central standout, correct?
She did, yeah.
I will graciously allow you to go next with your Sens Central standout. Go ahead, buddy.
All right, man. I'm going to go with the guy whose jersey is over my shoulder, and I might be leaving the one over your shoulder for you, Pillsy, but okay. Jake Sanderson with a big goal. He's just arrived offensively. I keep saying this after every game now, but he's just becoming a threat at that end of the ice. And it's no coincidence he's leading the way basically for them in points on this win streak, or around that time. Like, this turnaround they've had, he's been outstanding since the Four Nations face-off. And this is what you envision when you get a high-end defenseman at 5th overall. And he just develops into this two-way stud. Like, he's getting it done at both ends of the rink. He's their MVP every single night. He's just so good, Pillsy. And that shot was just ridiculous. To just beat Stolarz up high like that, right under the bar at a big moment, that's exciting if you're a Sens fan, because Jake Sanderson can just continue to elevate his game to other levels, Pillsy.
Yeah, Jake Sanderson looked good. Yeah, that shot was like, you would expect that shot from like a bona fide sniper winger, not your two-way smooth skating defenseman. Like, it was just insane the way he was able to pick that corner. My NHL.com is not loading right now, so I'm not going to have the stats to back this, but I'm just going to go by vibes. Jack, you already gave a tease to who it's going to be for me. Number 35, Linus Ullmark, goalie-friendly show. I know people are going to get on me and be like, oh man, he had another bad goal again, but that was a weird circumstance. And look, it's like I talked about. It's how do you bounce back from that? If Linus Ullmark has one bad goal a game, but then shuts it down after that, obviously that's not ideal, but he's human. People make mistakes. It's going to happen. It's how you react from your mistakes and how you live and learn from them. And I thought he couldn't have been better after that. And that's what you need from your goalie. He's been the guy down the stretch. Anton Forsberg only playing the one game, the second half of a back-to-back. Credit to the Sens. You guys know I'm a rest Linus Ullmark guy. They give him the full rest, calling up Levi Merilainen. So there was no chance that if, God forbid, Forsberg got hurt or if he got yanked early in the game, Ullmark was going to have to go in and it wasn't going to be a rest. They gave him that full night off, get some rejuvenation. He travels with the boys. He's a good team player. He's with them for the vibes. But now it's going to be the Linus Ullmark show, probably quite a bit more moving forward here. And that's our guy. The Sens have been looking, hoping, praying for a number one goalie, a true number one, a former Vezina winner, and they got it in their guy number 35. So that will be my Sens Central standout.
He changes their dynamic completely. And it's to the point where you're comfortable with them kind of sitting back in the third, like not really going for it. He's back there, not going to let anything by him. Like you're so right. It's just that number one goalie factor, and it's hard to explain until you see it. And I think, the Leafs might have had it for a little bit. Like they had a good tandem going for a bit, but in a 7-game series, I'm taking Linus Ullmark over Anthony Stolarz any day of the week, right? Like the only guy in the Atlantic that scares me from a goaltending standpoint is Vasilevsky and Bobrovsky, which are two teams they might play anyway. So we'll see about that. But it's just comfortable having it there. Like I'll put Linus Ullmark against most goalies in the NHL, and you can't really say that about a lot of other guys. And that's just a chip the Sens have. And we mentioned all these other players they've got with them, Pillsy. Like it's really just all coming up Ottawa Senators right now, and it's a fun time. But you're right, when he really locks in, he makes these things a streak, like the game against Detroit. I keep referring to it, but that's what makes these things winning streaks, is you find ways to win when you don't deserve it. And then again, like tonight, like Ullmark didn't have his best. He was a little shaky in the second period after that play. But then he shuts the door and doesn't let in the next one. If he's letting in 2 goals a game, Pillsy, I'll take that every single day.
Yeah, and the Ottawa Senators have shown that they can provide offense too. They're scoring a lot more recently here. So look, Jack and I feel like we've had to really rein ourselves back, not getting too far ahead of ourselves, because we got the confidence now and we got a Sens 6-game winning streak, and we don't get to cover these games a lot if you look at our Postcast record. So I'm not going to get too crazy, but I'm feeling good right now. I'm not going to apologize for a 6th straight win. I'm not going to apologize for the Ottawa Senators sweeping the series up against the Leafs. So things are looking good right now. Sens in a wild card spot here. Jack, do you have any honorable mention Sens Central standouts you want to get to before we land this plane?
Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning Ridley Gregg and maybe someone on that line in general. So I'll just pick Gregg. He's built for these kinds of games. He gets under the opponent's skin. Like Tavares was going at him a couple times, which is so out of character for that Leafs trio. Like even some of the Leafs, like in the scrums, Nylander and Marner were getting frustrated. Like that doesn't happen very often, right? So the fact that I'm mentioning Ridley Gregg because he's that kind of player where every shift he's playing against these guys and doing very well at it too. Him, Pinto, and Amadio are a really special line. Like I don't know if I don't have it in front of me, but they might have led the Sens in ice time again for forwards. Like they were out there a lot, even sneaking them out there. And this is a credit to Travis Green, getting them out there as much as possible against the other team's top guys. So they've just got a shutdown line now. And that's the best part about this, Pillsy. So I'll go Ridley Gregg, but it's really that whole line. I don't, if you want to mention someone else on that line, I mean, we could talk about them all night for another show.
Yeah. The scrappy coyote, as we've been calling Ridley Gregg, and not to mention the fight he had as well. Like this is the type of player that you want in your bottom 6, just getting under the skin of opponents when it comes to playoff time. That's the perfect guy you want, because teams hate him. But when he's on your team, the boys love him. And we know that firsthand. We've talked to players on the Sens team that just think Ridley Gregg is an absolute riot. Maybe we'll get LOSP stats department on the case if they did play the most time for any forward line. Let's take a look at through some of the starred comments here before we wrap this up. Tails says, for the first time in years, I'm not nervous or worried about any line or pairing hopping over the boards. Yes, even Hammer and Forsey. Jack, you tweeted it out. What was it? At Sens Central first period thoughts, where you took the stand saying, "Hey, look, even Hammer had a good period." Now there's one mistake we need to talk about from Hammer, but I agree for the most part, I thought he had a good game.
You're talking about the one where his glove was over the bench? Yeah, that was brutal.
My God, like you're a seasoned NHL vet. Your team is battling to stay in this game, and you're leaning over with your glove over the bench, and it hits your glove on a clearing attempt to bring the faceoff back into the zone. Like that, like
with 3 minutes left. 3 minutes left. It was down the wire.
It was crucial. I know he's a vet. I know he's liked in the room, but if I'm Travis Green and the coaching staff, I'm letting him know about that and pointing that out in the film study after, because that is the kind of mistake that if the Leafs score there, like that just you can't
came close too. That was probably their best chance of that whole sequence. But anyway, I think I was actually going to say that I liked Hamannik's game earlier, and then as the game progressed, I was like, oh no, okay, we gotta like this is a little bit too nerve-wracking for me. But I kind of agree. Like most of all 4 lines for sure. Even the 4th line, I thought had maybe they got caved in a couple times, but they also had their own chances. Like Highmore drew a penalty that led to the game-winning goal.
And like, how about him just cackling sitting on the ice at Oliver Ekman-Larsson after drawing that penalty. Like, that's gotta piss you off if you're OEL.
Oh yeah, like that's the worst when you drop a guy and then you get a call on you and the other guy just laughs in your face because you know you're the donkey, and then to get scored on, it's a tough one. That's a tough one.
That's a tough one for sure. Our guy Eric says, "Go Sens, go! March to the playoffs. Foxtrot uniform Charlie." I think he's missing a kilo there in pilot letter talk, so the doesn't fully drop it. The Leafs, so we get down with that. I'm in on that. Mark Sinclair says, "I love this team top to bottom, other than Hamonic and Highmore. Sorry, not sorry." Hey, Highmore, he's a fourth liner. All right. Like it's going to be okay. And Hamonic really should be a seventh defenseman. So we're going to,
Highmore looked good on the penalty kill. I thought Highmore's been doing a good job on the PK. Yeah. I don't know if he was there before Norris got traded and Gregor. I'd imagine they were in there before him. So I think he's doing a fine job right now.
Yeah, there is some times offensively where you're like, why does it have to be Highmore that's getting this great offensive opportunity? But I mean, yeah, I'm not going to complain too much. And he does have a bit of speed and he draws that penalty. So he's, you know what, he's doing okay here. Tails again mentions our guy Tails. Thank you. I think Ollie hurt his ego on that play, but that, I don't know, maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're commenting here, Tails, but I think the opposite. I think that was one where it was an ego check, but he checked his ego and he was able to work past it.
Yeah, fair. I mean, that's what's going to be remembered after that play, which is great, is that they won the game. So it'll be played a couple times because it's a bad play. But just like his save was a big save against Boston, that's a play that he ended up responding from and didn't let in a goal after that. So really, when you look at it, Linus Ullmark let in one goal when he was actually in the crease tonight and not at center ice or by the blue line. So that's a positive right there.
Man, I was hoping so bad that Matthews was going to shoot it at Domi and it wasn't going to go in. Like that would have been so awesome.
He had so much net though. When you saw the back angle, like he had the whole left half of the net. If he missed that one, other than that though, he didn't do much. Austin Matthews. Nothing. I know that's been his story all season. He's not having a good year, but he's been shut down not only this season by the Sens. I believe that's now only just 2 goals in his last 12 games against the Sens. I think you guys were talking with Locked On Leafs about that. Earlier in that preview, which was a great preview. But yeah, that was, I don't know, man, like I'm just riding such a high, Pillsy. I couldn't have scripted this any better.
No, we really couldn't. Our guy Jackson says, live from the Heart and Crown in Byward. Go Sens, go. We love that. Our good friends, Sens fans in Van, love these guys. Watch the game with a diehard Leafs fan. Very insightful. Sens are Leafs kryptonite, and game was over unless Leafs scored on the power play. 100% true. Hashtag Sens say boo. Yeah, that penalty kill was huge. That was one of the biggest moments in the game for me.
Yeah, and it had to come up big. It really did. It was 5 minutes left in the third, and this is what the Leafs do. They choke in these big moments on the power play. Like they've had their fair share of those. That's what makes it exciting too, because playoff teams beat the Leafs in those scenarios, and the Sens just did. Didn't give them any life. They buzzed around a little bit, but Ullmark shut the door. So exciting. So exciting, Pills. You got any final thoughts before? Are we still going here?
Yeah. Our guy,
Central Citizens are the best, man.
Best in class. Oscar the Grouch here saying, what up to Dashy tonight? LFG baby playoffs. Here we come. Our guy, Randy, the cheeseburger bandit. Appreciate y'all. We appreciate you, Randy, and we appreciate all the Sens fans here. And then Cam H, thank you, buddy. Keep up the great work, lads. It's a backpat postcast, and it's also a vibecast. And I know we say this, and maybe people think it's a canned answer now, but we couldn't do this without the support and everything that our listeners, Sens fans, Sens Central citizens, everyone does. And we do it because we love it. It's easy for Jack and I to get up, hop on the postcast after a 6th straight win. We love chopping down the game, and we appreciate every single one of you that's here. We appreciate our sponsors, and we appreciate the Locked On Podcast Network for allowing us to do this as a job. It's a dream job, especially we've worked through some tough years here at LOSP, and it seems like we're opening up the blinds here, and we're starting to see the light. Jack, you got any final thoughts for us here?
I think that was well said, Pillsy. It's just it's not just the team and the organization that deserves this. It's fans, man. Like the fans have been through so much, and that's included with this podcast. Like all the losses everything. It's only going to be a fun ride from here. The captain said it himself at the beginning of the month. Buckle up for the rest of the ride. And they're 7-0-1 since he said that. Isn't that crazy? So it's just enjoy the ride. I think they got 16 games left in the regular season, and they're finding their groove at the right time. And it's I'm honored to be part of this. I'm so excited for the rest of the stretch here with the Postcasts, and it's just gonna be a fun ride, boys.
And hey, my bad leaving Jack out of it again. We couldn't do this without Jack, without Martian. Our guy Parley, you just saw in the chat, he's a big part of this too. So we really appreciate everyone. It takes a village to do a podcast that pumps out as much content as we do. Our guy Matthew Hall, well said, Pillsy GSG, appreciate you. Oh, the Sens win 4-2 over the Leafs. I'm sure there's lots of Sens fans that are in the heart of enemy territory. Even if you're not, you probably know one or two Leafs fans, regrettably. Ask them how they felt about the game. Ask them about how the season's gone up against the Sens this year. Ask them, did Michael Amadio put the puck into the empty net soft enough? Are we okay with the velocity that puck went into the empty net? Is that okay, Morgan Riley? But it doesn't matter because it goes in the net and the Sens get the puck line win. It's been a great ride for all of us here over in Sens land. Sens fans are best in class. Thank you, everyone. We got 635 people here. It was pumping over 700 for most of it. The Postcast numbers have been insane lately, and we appreciate it. Every one of you guys are awesome. Thanks to Margaret O'Toole, Boots on the Ground Report. Thanks to our sponsors, the Glebe Central Pub. Go check out the GCP. And thank you, everyone here. Jack Richardson. I'm not going to forget to thank you this time, buddy, for myself, Jack Richardson, for all of our sponsors and the Locked On Podcast Network. It's another Sens win. 6 straight wins, baby. Let's go. The Battle of Ontario belongs to the Ottawa Senators. Let's get some Go Sens Go in the chat, some GSGs. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, Postcast. It's your team every day. Let's hear those flutes, baby. Go Sens Go.